Vietnam. A land of endless rice fields, land of deep spirituality, a land where memory meets the future. Before the sun rises, Vietnam is already moving. In the quiet moments before dawn, rivers breathe slowly. Mountains hold their silhouettes against the sky. And cities prepare to unfold. This is a land shaped by water, carved by stone, and remembered through generations. Here, time does not rush forward. It circles. While much of the world sleeps, fishermen push their boats into dark waters. Incense smoke rises from family altars, and the first motorbikes hum through empty streets. Life does not begin suddenly in Vietnam. It emerges. This journey is not about checking destinations off a list. It is about understanding how land, people, and memory intertwine. In the Gulf of Tonkin, over 1,600 limestone islands rise from jade-colored waters. Ha Long Bay is not simply a landscape, it is a labyrinth. Stone towers emerge vertically from the sea, shaped by wind and rain over 500 million years, forming a horizon that appears almost unreal. Hidden within these pillars, caves preserve silence older than history. Stalactites hang like fossils, while shafts of light cut through darkness, revealing chambers once used by ancient civilizations. Floating villages drift quietly between shadow and reflection. Families live where land disappears, adapting their lives entirely to the rhythm of tides. At dawn and dusk, when sunlight brushes the surface of the water, the bay transforms into a mirror, sky and sea dissolving into one. This is not a place meant to be rushed. It is meant to be absorbed. Ha Long Bay is often photographed from above, reduced to shapes and symmetry. But from the water, everything changes. engines idle, waves lap against stone. The scale becomes personal. Limestone walls rise close enough to touch, their surfaces etched with time and salt. Shells cling to rock faces, marking ancient waterlines from long-forgotten tides. Every turn reveals a new corridor, a new opening, a new silence. The bay does not reveal itself all at once. It invites patience. If you are an explorer and journeys like this matter to you, consider subscribing to Hidden Travel Gems. We explore the places most stories never reach. Just a few kilometers away, the silence deepens. Bai Tu Long Bay reveals a quieter face of northern Vietnam, one untouched by crowds, where nature still dictates the pace of life. Sea stacks rise from calm waters, covered in dense vegetation, sheltering rare wildlife that thrives far from tourist routes. Here, fishermen glide through narrow channels in wooden boats, following paths passed down through generations. Coral gardens remain intact beneath the surface, and the water moves without disturbance. There is no spectacle here, only balance. Without crowds, sound behaves differently here. Water carries further. A paddle dipping into the sea echoes softly between cliffs. Birds circle undisturbed above mangroves. Even the wind feels slower. Bai Tu Long is not empty. It is complete. It exists without needing to perform. Bai Tu Long reminds us that the most meaningful places are often those left unnamed. In the northeast, clouds gather around Yentu Mountain. For more than 7 centuries, pilgrims have climbed these slopes in search of clarity. Stone steps wind upward through forests, where pagodas emerge from mist, and bells echo softly through the trees. This mountain was once the birthplace of Vietnamese Zen Buddhism. Emperors abandoned power here, choosing silence over authority. As altitude increases, noise disappears. Each step becomes deliberate. Each breath, a meditation. Yentu is not conquered. It is approached with humility. This is a journey measured not in distance, but in intention. Pilgrims often pause halfway, not from exhaustion, but reflection. Some carry offerings, others walk empty-handed. All arrive with something unseen. Stories tell of seekers who reach the summit only to descend changed, not by revelation, but by stillness. Yen Tu teaches without speaking. Off Vietnam's southwestern coast, Phu Quoc rises gently from turquoise waters. White sand beaches stretch beneath palm trees, while dense forests cover more than half the island. Streams cut through ancient rock, feeding ecosystems that shelter rare wildlife. At dawn, fishermen gather at small temples dedicated to the sea goddess, offering incense before heading out onto open water. At night, markets glow with lantern light, and the aroma of grilled seafood fills the air. Modern resorts rise along the coastline, yet traditions remain firmly anchored. Phu Quoc lives between two worlds, untouched nature and changing times, without fully surrendering to either. Beneath the surface, coral reefs shelter vibrant marine life, parrotfish, sea turtles, and schools that move as one body, flashing silver in filtered sunlight. On land, pepper farms and fish sauce barrels reveal another truth. Island life is built on patience, fermentation, seasons, waiting. Phu Quoc is not escape, it is continuity. In northern Vietnam, water writes its own geography. Ban Geoc Falls thunder across limestone terraces, cascading nearly 30 meters into a valley carved by centuries of flow. Mist rises constantly, forming rainbows that hover above the river. The Khe Sun River marks a border, yet life ignores political lines. Villages thrive on both sides, sharing customs, seasons, and survival. Here, women still weave cloth by hand, while farmers follow lunar cycles that predate modern calendars. Water connects what borders attempt to divide. During the rainy season, the falls swell dramatically, their roar drowning out conversation. In dry months, water separates into dozens of ribbons, each finding its own path downward. The landscape teaches a quiet lesson: power adapts. In Ninh Binh, stone rises from earth instead of sea. Limestone mountains emerge from rice paddies, creating a landscape where land and water interlock seamlessly. Rivers glide between cliffs so tall they block the sky, passing through caves carved over millennia. At Tamcockard's rowers guide boats using only their feet, a technique perfected through generations. The rhythm of oars blends with birdsong echoing through stone corridors. Nearby, ancient temples cling to mountainsides, their steps worn smooth by centuries of devotion. Ninh Binh is not a replica of Ha Long Bay. It is its reflection, grounded, slower, and deeply human. During harvest season, golden rice frames the rivers, and reflections double the landscape. Mountains appear to float. Boats drift between mirrored worlds. Ninh Binh feels suspended, neither past nor present, neither land nor water. And once you've seen it, it never truly lets you leave. In the misty highlands of Ja Lat, logic gives way to imagination. Hidden among pine trees, the crazy house twists upward like a living organism. Staircases curve without warning. Walls ripple like tree bark. Windows resemble spider webs frozen mid-spin. Designed by architect Giang Vietnamese, this structure rejects straight lines entirely. There are no clear floors, no predictable paths, only movement guided by curiosity. Visitors climb, descend, and wander through spaces that feel more dream than building. Each room follows a different theme, inspired by animals, myths, and elements of nature. The crazy house is not meant to be understood from the outside. It must be experienced slowly, step by step. The crazy house exposes something fundamental. Comfort is learned, not natural. Once surrendered, fear gives way to wonder. Here, Vietnam reveals another side of itself, playful, experimental, unafraid to break form. Along the Perfume River, the city of Hue awakens quietly. Behind massive stone walls, the imperial city preserves the legacy of Vietnam's last dynasty. For over a century, emperors ruled from within these gates, governing a kingdom shaped by ritual, hierarchy, and symbolism. Purple-roofed palaces align with ancient principles of harmony. Dragons guard rooftops, while phoenixes watch over courtyards once reserved only for royalty. Beyond the citadel, imperial mausoleums emerge from forested hills like hidden cities. Each tomb was designed not merely as a burial place, but as a reflection of the emperor's philosophy, power, and relationship with nature. Time moves gently in hue. History does not shout, it lingers. Even rain seems intentional here. Monsoon showers blur palace outlines, softening stone into memory. The city does not resist decay, it allows it, turning erosion into elegance. Hugh remembers by letting go. Deep within central Vietnam's jungle, stone towers rise from dense vegetation. My son's sanctuary was once the spiritual heart of the Champa kingdom, a civilization that flourished here more than 1,000 years ago. 70 temples were built by hand, without mortar, using techniques that remain a mystery today. Red bricks locked together with perfect precision, resisting centuries of monsoon rains and encroaching roots. Carvings tell stories of gods, kings, and cosmic balance. War damaged much of this sacred site, yet what remains feels powerful in its silence. Nature has reclaimed the ruins, but not their meaning. Moss creeps slowly across carvings. Roots fracture stone gently, persistently. Nature does not erase history here. It carries it forward. My son stands as a reminder that civilizations fade, but devotion leaves traces that endure. By day, Hoi An moves gently. Ancient merchant houses line narrow streets. Craftsmen weave bamboo, carve wood, and stitch silk beneath curved roofs that have sheltered generations. But as the sun disappears, the city transforms. Thousands of lanterns ignite one by one, bathing stone streets in red, gold, and blue. Their reflections shimmer across the Thu Bon River, turning water into liquid light. Boats glide silently downstream, carrying visitors who release floating lanterns into the current. A ritual of wishes, repeated night after night, century after century. Hoi An is not just a town. It is a celebration that begins anew every evening. Some nights, lanterns drift downstream without candles, symbols without wishes, released simply to watch them move. Even without intention, beauty persists. In northern Vietnam, the mountains themselves become fields. Rice terraces climb steep slopes like staircases to the sky, sculpted over centuries by Hmong and Dao communities. Each curve follows the mountain's natural contours, creating a living mosaic that shifts color with the seasons. In May, water-filled paddies mirror the clouds. By summer, intense green dominates the hillsides. In autumn, the landscape turns gold as harvest approaches. Farmers work these vertical fields using techniques passed down through generations. Reading the sky to predict rain and timing each step with precision. Life here follows the rhythm of nature, not the calendar. Mist rolls in suddenly, swallowing entire villages. When it clears, the world feels reborn. Each morning begins with uncertainty. Each evening ends with gratitude. Further south, the Central Highlands open into wide plateaus and red earth. In Kon Tum, wooden churches rise above surrounding villages, built by hand using local materials and ancestral craftsmanship. Their steep roofs and carved beams blend spiritual devotion with indigenous design. Ethnic communities preserve languages, rituals, and musical traditions that predate modern borders. Gongs echo across hills during ceremonies, their sound carrying stories of ancestry and belonging. Here, culture is not performed for visitors. It is lived daily, woven into the rhythm of work, worship, and family. Stories here are told orally, through rhythm, through repetition, through sound. When elders speak, No one interrupts. Along the coast and within sheltered bays, entire communities exist on water. In floating villages like Kuavan, homes drift gently with the tides. Children paddle to school. Fishermen cast nets directly from their doorsteps. Life adapts completely to the movement of the sea. There are no streets, only currents. Wooden walkways connect families. Floating fish farms sway beneath homes. Every sound is softened by water. This is a world without firm ground, yet deeply rooted in tradition. Storms change everything. Homes are reinforced, nets secured, routines adjusted. Life continues because adaptation is tradition. Which place so far felt the most unexpected to you? Leave a comment. I read everyone. From floating villages, the land rises again. The journey now moves inward, beneath the surface. Beyond light, and into spaces few have ever seen. What waits ahead is not shaped by human hands. In the heart of central Vietnam, the land opens. Beneath dense jungle and limestone hills lies one of the most complex cave systems on Earth. Phong Naki Bang conceals more than 120 kilometers of underground passages, carved slowly by water moving through darkness. Rivers disappear into stone, flowing silently through chambers untouched by sunlight. Vaults open suddenly into spaces so vast they resemble cathedrals, their ceilings lost in shadow. Hang Son Doong, the largest cave ever discovered, could swallow entire city blocks. Its chambers are tall enough to hold skyscrapers. Inside, collapse openings allow sunlight to pour in, giving birth to underground jungles where trees grow beneath the surface of the earth. Clouds form within the cave itself. Weather exists where it should not. Each expedition reveals new passages, new formations, new mysteries. Water continues its endless work, shaping stone grain by grain, long after human footsteps fade. Here, scale redefines perspective. This is not a place that welcomes crowds. Many explorers describe a moment of disorientation inside the caves, when darkness feels absolute and sound loses direction. In that moment, ego dissolves. It demands humility. As the land rises back toward light, Vietnam changes rhythm once again. Da Nang stretches along the coastline, a city balanced between modern ambition and ancient belief. Glass towers reflect the sun by day, while bridges ignite at night, casting colored light across the Han River. Just beyond the city, the Marble Mountains emerge from the coastal plain. Five limestone peaks rise abruptly, each named after a natural element hidden within them. Temples and caves offer silence amid stone. Monks still pray inside chambers carved by nature, where incense smoke drifts upward through openings that frame the sky. During times of war, these same caves served as shelters and hospitals, protecting lives in darkness. Nearby, the sea reshapes the shoreline endlessly. Waves that now attract surfers once carried history to these shores. Da Nang exists in constant contrast, ancient and modern, sacred and dynamic, grounded and rising. High in the Barnard Hills, nearly 1,500 meters above sea level, Vietnam fades into cloud. Below, cities move quickly. Up here, time slows. For centuries, these mountains remained remote. Then, in the early 20th century, the French arrived. Seeking cooler air, they built a hill station here, a retreat above the heat and pressure of the coast. When they left, the mountain reclaimed itself. until Vietnam returned with a new vision. The Golden Bridge was completed in 2018. A recent structure designed to feel timeless. Nearly 150 meters long, its path curves gently through the sky. Not built for speed, built for experience. What holds the bridge draws the eye. Massive stone hands, cracked, weathered, rising from the forest below. They do not grip the bridge, they support it. In Vietnamese culture, the land is alive. Mountains are not obstacles. They are guardians. The hands reflect that belief. Banner Hills sits where warm coastal air meets cooler mountain winds. Clouds form quickly here. Some days, the bridge floats above them. Other days, it disappears entirely. You walk forward, without seeing what comes next, and instinctively, you slow down. Vietnam is changing rapidly. Skylines rise. Infrastructure expands. The Golden Bridge mirrors this moment. Yet reflective, engineered, yet symbolic. A bridge built by the present, held by the past. Crossing takes only minutes. Most people take longer. They stop. They turn back. They wait for the clouds to move, because crossing isn't the point. Being present is. Wind. Mist. Silence. For a moment, you exist between places. When you step off the bridge, the world resumes its pace, but the memory lingers. Of a path in the sky. Of hands beneath your feet. Of Vietnam, walking carefully between eras. In Vietnam's Central Highlands, the land tells a different story. Chu Dang Ya volcano rises gently from fertile plains, its slopes shaped not by erosion alone, but by fire. Long dormant, this volcano left behind rich basalt soil that now feeds surrounding farms and villages. Fields stretch across rolling hills, changing color with the seasons. During wildflower blooms, the landscape explodes into reds and yellows. At harvest time, the earth turns deep brown, heavy with possibility. Villages cluster around the base, their lives intertwined with the land's ancient power. Here, destruction once gave birth to abundance. The volcano no longer threatens, it sustains. Farther south, the terrain shifts once more. In Moi Ni, sand replaces stone. Wind shapes the land relentlessly, carving dunes that ripple like waves frozen in motion. Red and white sands stretch toward the horizon, creating a desert landscape that feels impossible in tropical Vietnam. At sunrise, fishermen return from the sea. Hundreds of round bamboo boats dot the coastline. Bobbing gently as nets are hauled in by hand. Nearby, red cliffs expose nearly 2 million years of geological history, layer upon layer revealed by erosion. Wind and rain carve miniature canyons, while hidden streams nourish pockets of green where coconut palms take root. Moi Ni exists between extremes, sea and desert, movement and stillness. Off the central coast, Lai Sun Island rises sharply from the water. Formed by ancient volcanic eruptions, its cliffs drop straight into deep blue sea. Lava rock frames the shoreline, while waves crash endlessly against black stone. Inland, fields of garlic and onions blanket the soil, nourished by mineral-rich earth. For generations, islanders have farmed these volcanic plains, producing crops prized across the country. Temples cling to cliffs, honoring sailors who never returned. From the island's edge, the horizon feels endless. Lai Sun stands exposed to wind, to sea, to memory. Far from the mainland, the Condau archipelago emerges quietly from the South China Sea. "16 islands rise from clear waters, their rainforests covering most of the land. Coral reefs thrive beneath the surface, and sea turtles return each year to lay eggs on protected beaches. But beneath this beauty lies another story. Condau once held the most feared prison complex in Indochina. Built by French colonizers and later used through decades of conflict, its cells confined thousands of political prisoners. Tiny isolation chambers, known as tiger cages, forced inmates into unbearable conditions. Graffiti scratched into walls still whispers stories of suffering, resistance, and endurance. Today, forest has reclaimed much of the land. Life returns where pain once dominated. Turtles nest where prisoners once dreamed of freedom. Condau holds both memory and renewal, proof that healing does not erase the past, but grows alongside it. Some visitors leave offerings at former prison sites: flowers, incense, handwritten notes, not for closure, for acknowledgement. Condau does not ask to be forgiven. It asks to be remembered. Inland once more, Vietnam reveals its gentler side. Wetlands spread across Cat Tien and Tram Chim national parks, where rivers slow and life gathers quietly. Mangroves rise from shallow waters, their roots forming living labyrinths beneath the surface. Rare birds take flight at dawn. Cranes move gracefully across flooded grasslands. Here, biodiversity thrives away from cities and crowds. These ecosystems protect more than wildlife. They preserve balance. In the highlands, the air carries a familiar aroma. Buon Ma Thuot sits at the center of Vietnam's coffee country. Rolling hills stretch outward, planted with coffee trees that thrive in volcanic soil. Every harvest fuels an industry that reaches across the world. Yet here, the process remains personal. Beans dry in the sun. Families gather to sort, roast, and prepare coffee using techniques passed down through generations. Each cup tells a story of land, labor, and patience. Rising above the highlands, Chu Yang Sin National Park shelters dense forests and hidden valleys. Mist drifts through towering trees. Rivers cut narrow paths through untouched terrain. Countless species survive here, many found nowhere else on Earth. This is Vietnam at its most untamed, resilient, complex, alive. At the southern edge of the country, the Mekong River slows. After traveling more than 4,000 kilometers, it divides into countless branches, spreading across fertile plains. Locals call it the land of the 9 dragons. Floating markets awaken before sunrise. Boats gather in quiet choreography, exchanging fruit, vegetables, and stories. Each vessel displays its goods on tall poles, turning commerce into a visual language. Homes line canals, orchards grow beside water. Life adapts fluidly to the river's rhythm. Here, land and water are inseparable. As the river slows, stories gather. Everyone here belongs to the water, whether they arrived yesterday or generations ago. The Mekong does not end, it spreads. This is where the journey settles. Vietnam is not a straight line. It is movement shaped by water. Belief carved into stone and memory carried forward through generations. From mountains to sea, from darkness to light. This land reveals itself slowly. Rewarding those who listen, not those who rush. Vietnam is not simply visited, it is felt, and once felt, it remains. If this journey stayed with you, tell me which moment you won't forget, and subscribe to Hidden Travel Gems for the next story.